when he was in Florence. I'm rated 100% conservative by the Free Enterprise Group. I'm rated 100% by the John Birch Society. I have an ongoing lifetime of 96 from CPAC in Washington because I am a solid conservative. I have always been endorsed by the NRA. I got thrown out of office twice by Republicans in my mind. Now, I say thrown out, I wasn't physically thrown out like the Republicans just did to Liz Harris. I lost. I first ran in 2010 when they did redistricting. I won my election. I was in when we had to make the big cuts in Arizona. I am very, very conservative, and some of the bills that I was proposing, Republican leadership did not like. So when they came up for election, the Senate Republican Victory Fund and the House Republican Victory Fund in a primary election. This is money that was supposed to go to ensure that we still had a Republican supermajority in the legislature, spent $253,000 to my 22 to defeat me. And they only beat me by 452 votes. I didn't get elected again. I didn't really run. I was going to the first year, and then Governor Jan Brewer called me up. She said, "John, are you going to run? We think that you'll win this time," because I was going to go for the House instead of the Senate. I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Will you support me for an expansion of Medicaid and Medicare?" "No, I won't, Jan." I said, "I don't support that. I think it's welfare and it's not good for the human soul." So as a result, the governor endorsed a mayor out of Apache Junction, and I lost. When I decided to get elected again 4 years ago, 6 years ago, excuse me, I said, I'm going to write a check for $40,000. And if I have to write another check, I'll write that check. And if I got to write a third check, I'll write that check because I'm going to the legislature. I'm a small businessman, right up front, transparency. I barely finished high school. I had to repeat the 10th grade. But I'm going to tell you, I own 160 acres up by Lake Tahoe. It's paid for. I have a art gallery and some cabins in Oregon, and they are paid for. And I've got 40 acres outside of Bryce Canyon. It's paid for. I'm not bragging. I'm just talking about the greatness of America, and our free enterprise system has enabled me to gather all of that. I have been a Republican for 45 years. I have been a precinct committeeman, a precinct captain, a state committeeman, and an elected state representative twice. The bills that I have proposed, and this is why I am leaving the party, and I am leading as the president of the Arizona Patriot Party, a drive for us to become a new party in the state of Arizona. There was just a party within the last couple of months, a party was approved to be there. It's called the No Label Party, which to me is a group of people that won't take an opinion or a position on an item. We are constitutional conservatives. Now, I'm leaving the party because I proposed a bill that said there's only two sexes killed by Republicans. I proposed a bill since the Supreme Court said we could not have prayer in schools. I said, okay, how about a moment of moral reflection? I ran it by judges and lawyers. They said it's good. It got killed by Republicans. I proposed a bill. Do you know that 60% of our kids in the state of Arizona do not reach efficiency in math, reading, or science?
I can vouch for that.
They're failing. That's why I ran for the legislature. We have 227 school districts. I showed where there are, we could actually get rid of 100 school districts, save over $100 million. And let me tell you something. I said, leave the money in the schools. I don't want to take the money from the schools. I says, if every teacher was making $100,000, I have no problem. If the kids were proficient in their standards. In Arizona, we give what's called social promotions. I proposed a bill that said if a kid doesn't know the standards in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, rather than get promoted, he has to go to summer school or repeat the grade. Killed by Republicans. I said that no government should ever have the right to inoculate, jab, or drink, and force anybody to drink anything on their body. That's personal freedoms. Killed by Republicans.
I got people asking real quick. What's your name again?
John Fillmore. I was out of Legislative District 16. When I proposed a bill that said the state would only raise two sexes, it got killed by Republicans. When I proposed
How
a
did it
bill
get
that
killed?
said the kids in our school had to say the Pledge of Allegiance daily, it got killed by Republicans. A lot of people don't understand. For 45 years, I'd bite my tongue because they'd say, you know, you're trying to do the Republican Party right. You want to do what's right for America. But do you know where Obamacare came from? It came from a guy by the name of Mitt Romney in Massachusetts, and it was called. You mean Utah?
No,
No,
Massachusetts.
he was governor of Massachusetts when it was first introduced.
And you got
And a lot of people don't realize it as when we look at some of the things, the legislative things that have happened now that have been killed by Republicans. Just 4 days ago, a guy by the name of David Cook killed 4 election integrity and school guilds by voting with the Democrats. The Democrats last year came out and said they were going to get rid of me. They committed in paper. It was advertised that they were going to spend $110,000 for a guy by the name of David Cook out of Gila County, my new district, and they spent $180,000, and I lost. 4 times I reached out to the Republican chairman. I am one of the most concerned. I'm a founding member of what's called the Freedom Caucus. There was 5 of us. Now there's 16, and half of them voted to get rid of Les Harris. And I'm scratching my head like, what the hell are they doing? But when I ran, and they were starting to drop the ads against me, and they said that I did not support term limits, and that's not true. But they were trashing me. I reached out to the Republican Party 4 times. I said, look, Kelly, all I need you to say is that Democrats should not play in a Republican primary. Yes, John, I agree with you. We're going to do something. 4 times I got that, and nothing ever happened. So a lot of people said, John, you ought to just walk away. I can't. I love this country. Do you like what is happening to America? I don't. I have received death threats when coronavirus first came on. I gave a speech on it. I said, this is a bad flu, and we need to pay attention to it. I do believe, and I always will believe, that it came right out of the labs in China, and we paid for it.
And Rand Paul just acknowledged that that is his official position.
That is absolutely right. They finally admitted that.
I said it too.
But they're weaponizing our FBI, the CIA, the IRS against American citizens. That is not what America is all about. Where my big problem this term in my session came about was in 2010 when the election happened. I wrote a letter. This letter went to every state representative, every state senator, every recorder in the state. It went to the governor, the attorney general. I says, we have a problem. The problem is not a Joe Biden problem. It's not a President Trump problem. The problem is Joe Sixpack's problem. And that's that we've lost faith in our elections are legitimate. And when I wrote the letter, I want you to understand something. I didn't get not one response from over 100 and some odd people. So I got angry. I said, this isn't right. So I went down to the legislature's office, the PIO, the public information. I said, I want to do a press release. Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Comer. I'm entitled to. I represent 160,000 people. Yes, absolutely. Comes back up about 20 minutes later and says, we can't run that. Why not? The Republican Speaker of the House censored it. Can't have it. I flipped out. I called out a guy by the name of Rusty Bowers. He was. I called him, and I saw representatives and senators who agreed with me, who I thought were solid, and they were good people that would stand behind me. I said, we need, yeah, John, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Some of your, even your local state representatives here, we agree. We go into a closed caucus, and I make a motion. I make a motion for special rules, and the speaker has to step down in front of him. You couldn't get a peep out of those SOs. Not one peep. Now, I am leading a drive to another party. We are constitutional conservatives. You need to have 34,000 signatures, 34,000 plus, to be on the ballot. There was just a new party approved. It's called the No Labels Party, which to me is just a bunch of people that won't take a position on an issue. It is funded by the Democrats, and it is a left-leaning party.
That's what I heard too.
Now, in this drive, I have thousands more signatures than required. I could become a party tomorrow if I went and filed it, but I'm not going to. And the reason why, because the No Label Party, just like the Libertarian Party, and that cannot have candidates for county sheriff, county supervisor, and most importantly, the county recorder. And the reason I am focused on that is because 2024 is coming at us like a freight train. The legislature does not have the backbone to stand up and pass any election integrity and then enforce it and make it a super majority. I kept calling for a special session last year. We couldn't get it done because Powers was opposing us. So as a result, I'm looking at this and I'm saying we need to have a county sheriff's board in case that brown stuff hits the fan. You want the highest police officer in the country, according to the Constitution, behind us. And we need the county recorders. And the reason we need them, because county recorders now can do what HB 2289 said, which is hand count in the precinct where you live, on paper,
Yes.
results that day. And we can do that.
And I just want to point out while you're saying that right now, since I know we have a candidate for school superintendent and my other candidate for the thing, is that when I turn in my signatures for county supervisor, I will be sending a letter to our county recorder requesting that our race be hand counted at the precinct.
Very good. The county recorder can ignore that. She doesn't want to.
I know, but I'm going to send it.
But yeah, but well, here's what I'm saying. Is that if you don't like what's happening in this country, if you don't like that transgender crap, look at the federal deficit. You know who caused that? It's elected Republicans and Democrats. COVID did not shut down our schools. Elected Republicans and Democrats allowed that. COVID did not say that we couldn't go to our churches. We couldn't have weddings. We couldn't visit grandpa when they put him under the ground if he passed. It was elected Republicans and Democrats that allowed this. And it's time for a change. Now, I'm going to tell everybody right up front, we will caucus with Republicans. So when people say, are you worried you're going to divide the Republican Party? No, I'm not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we will become Republicans on steroids. Hardcore constitutional conservatives that don't have to listen to the Republican Party hierarchy try to shut us down. That's number one. Number two, how can we divide something which has been working against us for so many years? And I remember because I helped Paul Babu, the sheriff in Pinal County, get elected years ago when I flipped Pinal from blue to red. And Paul did that walk. If you remember, there was an advertisement with John McCain, and he talked about securing the border. And he walked down there and he says, I did it. And John McCain didn't get it. We've got it. The fact of the matter is, the Republicans have been our problem for the last 20 years. There's 175,000 more Republicans than Democrats right now. 175,000. How come we have a Democrat governor, Democrat secretary of state, a Democrat attorney general? Because when Kerry Lake goes around and says the election was stolen, and remember, I not only wrote HB 2289, which President Trump touted, I also proposed about 17 other election integrity bills. kind of like, for instance, in Utah and 12 other states, it says if you come in to get a driver's license in the state of Arizona, you have to physically come into the local office and bring proof of citizenship, or you can't get elected. That would effectively shut down motor voter in the state of Arizona, and it would allow us to stop a lot of this federal-only election ballots that they are giving out. When our border, over a year ago, does everybody here know who Russell Pierce was? He wrote SB 1070 and me and Russell and Mr. Hammond, and we held a news conference. The former Attorney General said we have a crisis on the border invasion. That's all I needed to hear. I sent out to the governor, we're in an invasion. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution and the 10th Amendment says we're entitled to a republic and we're entitled to defend it, and we have the right to defend it. And here's what I propose. I propose you go down to the border, and as the federal government is taking the illegals and they're putting them on a bus, when they drive away, then you stop the bus, arrest the bus driver, confiscate the bus. When they put them on the airplane, wait till they're on the airplane. Then arrest the pilots, confiscate the plane, and we're only going to have to do that once. They're going to shut down that process across the whole country. When they're putting them up in the hotels, I say, go in there and arrest the hotel people, and then confiscate the whole damn hotel. Because I'll tell you that if we did that, every NGO that's non-government operated, that's working with the government, they would say, I'm not sending my planes to Arizona. I'm not sending my bus to Arizona. I'm not going to those people. I'm not going to house them. This is all legal according to federal statutes. In an invasion, we can enforce federal statutes. We don't have to worry about, like when the Supreme Court said, immigration is a federal issue. Because in an invasion under Article 4, Section 4 and 10, we have that right. The governor freaked out and said, no, we can't.
Oh, hold on. Okay, before you move on, okay, who can claim it's an invasion?
The Attorney General of the state of Arizona, not only can, the Attorney General did.
Okay, so the Attorney General can claim it's an invasion.
Yes, he gave legal status, but the governor has to declare it. I reached out to the governor. We had a news conference. Governor freaked, said, no, Fillmore, shut up, quiet. I got
That's
a
what I
plan.
wanted you to get
What's
to.
your plan? Well, I'm going to put a wall up. What are you going to do? I'm going to haul in some trailers. No, I ain't going to work. I like my idea better. Doesn't matter. We got not one when we called that press conference. Carrie Lake was invited. She didn't come out on the last day. I had 2 candidates for state attorney general. I had Russell Pierce. I had 4 senators and 2 representatives come and show up with me down there when we did the press release. Not one member of the press came. Not one in the press. You know, there's censorship and there's just brushes under the rug. So I'm leading the drive. We have more than enough signatures to put us on the ballot. But if we can get enough signatures so that we can have candidates up and down the ballot, just like the Democrats and the Republicans who've enjoyed this ever since statehood, the ability to have those that no one else has, then we can be a force. We can protect. 2024 is coming at us like a freight train. We need to have some people that can stand up and support either President Trump or whoever the Republican nominee is. I'm going to be straight up front. I was a Ted Cruz guy. Once Trump got the nomination, 1,000% I'm behind him. And as any Republican should have been, and the Republican
So I'd like to say something real quick, what you just got done saying a second ago. So I just got to making a trip down to the border here not too long ago. We invited the senators here of Arizona to attend the visit. We invited legislators, everybody in the book. And here's the deal, guys. Only senator that showed up was Senator Phil Hart out of Idaho. We could not get Arizona senators here involved. And we tried.
Weren't our Arizona senators in session? Wasn't our legislature in session?
We supposed
Federal senators.
No,
we-
I was talking about our
no,
local people.
we supposedly had senators here that were claiming they were going to arrive down there. We reached out to them. We called them. They tell me to text them.
Lieutenant Borelli,
Yeah, well, I'll say his name. Yeah, Burley.
he was in session.
Then he should have told us he was in session.
Everybody knew he was in session.
What's that?
Everybody knew he was in session.
Well, everybody but us.
Okay.
I'm new to Arizona, guys. I don't know these guys'
I don't
schedule.
know anything about that, but let me say this: if it was on a weekend, he could have, should have been there. That's fine.
So we gave them 1 of 7 days to pick to the border.
The fact of the matter is it's time for us to stand up. And
Now,
I'm gonna
okay,
be
hold
blunt
on.
and right with
Hold
you.
Hold on for a second. Okay, you said you got enough signatures,
That is correct.
and you said you don't. You want to be able to put. Is there a difference?
Yes, there is a difference, and
Okay.
I was just getting to that.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
James.
you need to have 34,000 plus signatures in order to be a party. We have excess of that, thousands more. I could be a party for state offices. I'm talking state rep, state senator, governor, anything, just like the libertarians. Or you can go for the full line. Only the Democrats have ever been.
See, in Idaho, it's been over
But the difference is that rather than just having a certain
What's that?
amount, they should have somebody should 34,000. I need to have so many out of each particular county.
Okay.
So as a matter of fact, I've already got more than enough signatures in a couple of the counties. Up here in Mojave County, I'm short 800 and somewhat signatures. And that not only gives me enough so that we can have a county sheriff candidate, but we can also have a county recorder candidate. And if someone wants to run for supervisor, I don't care. I'm focused on the sheriff and I'm focused on the county recorder. And that's what I am looking for. You know, I have a form here that if you want to sign on to it and say that you'll help me, it's just so I can help keep track. And then I've got a little box here. And I'm saying, would you want to, once we become a party, the part of our party hierarchy, our county chairman, or work for the party? Would you like to run for a local office, a county office, recorder, sheriff? Would you like to run for the state legislature? We are already putting a program together. And I'm not going to name names, but I also have a Republican that ran for Congress that says that he will come and join our party and will run for Congress again on that. We are doing everything we can. I'm not going to give it. I need help. I can't do it all myself. I'm taking this on. I'm spending time here. I've got people down in Maricopa County, about 4 people that are organizing and getting other people to get some signatures. I have people down in Pima County getting the signatures. I'm up here today asking for your help in both Mojave and
Is my
LaFox
friend Jill
County.
down in Pima helping you?
Pardon me?
Is my friend Jill down in Pima?
No, I don't know who that is, John. So I don't, but if
Hey,
she's not,
John,
tell her to call me.
John, I have a question for you. You know, there's a new hierarchy in the Republican Party. You sat down with the executive board and talked to them about your concerns and issues.
No, and let me tell you why I didn't. Because Jeff DeWitt is part of the same group that has worked within the party for the last 20 years. As I said, I've been a Republican for 45 years. I know the names, I know the people, I know our national chair representative, and I served with her years and years ago. And the fact is, nothing changes. And I look at what happened in the legislature this year when they threw Viv, the young lady out of the legislature. Thank you, Harris. When they threw Liz Harris out, Liz Harris went before a committee that was chaired by Wendy Rogers. Wendy is a solid conservative vote. But Wendy and I differ in that 2020, when I wrote the letter saying we needed the audit, and she started screaming, we need to recall our electoral votes. And when January 6th came along, from that point on, it was not constitutionally capable. We couldn't do it. But she went right on raising money. And she kept pouring it across the country. And people gave her money. I'm going to point something out about Wendy. She raised $3.4 million. And then in the first year, after next year, she spent over $1.3 million in off-year election. And that money was funneled down for electoral purposes, supposedly, to an organization owned by her nephew in Washington, D.C. I'm not saying what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to say.
Maxine
Now,
Waters.
that's the one.
What's that?
Then,
That's a
number
total
two,
one.
when Liz Harris went before this committee, she brought someone up that made a lot of aggressive, atrocious accusations. Senator Rogers should have immediately gavelled out that committee and said, let's go to the U.S. Attorney's Office and make the accusations and let's get the
Instead of letting it
investigation.
go for 45
Let's
minutes.
go to the Attorney General, you make the accusations and let's get an investigation. No, they let this person, not Liz Harris, make all those, and then they threw Liz Harris out. Liz Harris is labeled a denier. She actually believes that 2020 was rigged. Duh! And they wanted to get rid of her. And they did. They threw her out of office. I never would have done it. And what was really frustrating for me as a conservative, as a founding member of the Arizona State Freedom Caucus, which now has grown to over 15 members, I'm told, over half of them voted to throw her out as well. That's not the way America works.
Well, Leo handed her walking papers.
That's not the way it's supposed to happen.
Well, when you have a one vote majority, it's unwise to attack your own teammates and give up a one vote majority when you're trying to get things accomplished.
No, you're better. You're right. It's much better to go along with them and then vote all of the stupid stuff in that they're voting in. Allow them not to get election integrity. You are absolutely right. It's much better that you keep quiet and you toe the line. No way in hell. I'd have been ending on the deathbed screaming. Liz Harris should not have been tossed out under any
She had 11 election integrity bills that she had worked out of committee. 10 of those bills were on the third read. The 11th.
I don't know anything about that.
I looked it up.
Okay, I'm glad you did. Then you
I'm
let
a
me
former
finish.
investigative journalist. I look everything up. I fact check it.
So should she have been tossed out?
No. No, thank you.
And the one issue that I have,
What is your issue?
my issue is that when things like that happen, instead of the LDs, they pushed out that letter condemning all the whatchamacallits. I look back the century. I look back at their LDs, and their LDs. There were a couple places. I mean, their LDs are pretty much blue. The ones,
What was it? Find that. I don't know what you mean.
okay, so 9, they did 9, wait a minute, 8, 9, 11, and 12.
Legislative districts
Sent out,
censored their people.
right, and they have Democrat,
Hierarchy leadership.
no, Democrat senators. In their areas, the actual Democrat senators
Right.
were voted out. So they can condemn the
Republican Party
they can condemn the Republican Party.
because they are members of the Republican Party.
Yeah, but they fear, they have no fear of losing anything because they've already
Let
lost.
me tell you something about fear, sir.
Okay,
I spent 2 tours overseas in the United States Army. I
I
love this country.
same here.
I have from day one said, you might not like me, but I will never lie to you. And if you don't like what I say, you can throw my ass out. I don't care. Because the day's going to come. And I remember there was a movie, and I'm not in any way saying that I'm similar to Mr. Braveheart, Or when Mel Gibson wrote it up and said to the army when they were getting ready to go out, the day will come when you're old and you can look back and say, what did you do to stand up? Words to that effect.
Yeah.
That you will regret it. And that's why I'm here today. This is why I'm funding this. This is why I'm spending all this time. Because we have a unique opportunity to make a change in this country that we would be the first party to actually confront the Republican and Democrat. And we won't split the Republican Party. What you're going to get is constitutionally conservative Republicans on steroids in the Patriot Party. I love this guy. I make no qualms about it. Until the day they shut that casket, I will fight for what it's done. We are the greatest country in the history of mankind. I need to ask if you people will help me. If so, I would like you to put your name and contact information on this sheet. Take some ballots. I've got a box that I'll give. I'd like to get a leader here
Can you
in.
get a shot of that?
I'd like to get a leader here in Mojave County and one in La Paz County. I have no money, but I will tell you that 2 weeks ago, drove all the way to Las Vegas. I met with a man that has over $1 billion. And I met with him for lunch and I asked him point blank, I need your help. I need you to write me a check. And I don't want a check for 1,000 or 500 or something. I want a check for 6 figures. And I'm going to continue doing that because if I can get money, then my attitude is then I will pay everybody to help me assist in getting these signatures. But until then, I can't.
No,
I need volunteers and people that love this country and want to see it continue going down the right like this. The stolen elections with our great grandkids are going to, and it's coming now. They're going to raise that limit again. And you know what is that limit? Let's be honest. The debt limit is the amount that they're overspending that they've already spent that they're going to say that they won't, and they just keep raising and raising and raising. That's not what America was about. So, if you would, I'd appreciate a signature. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Otherwise than that, people, I hope you had a good time and you enjoyed coming out and listening. Anybody got any questions?
How many signatures are you short for this county?
This county, I have short 822 of them. I have 221 to get that.
821 at 821 plus buffer or 820?
No, that includes the buffer.
Okay.
I don't need that
Make
many.
it 819. Do I hear 818? 818, do I hear 817? I think
It can be done. Now, here's what I'm gonna be doing to help you. I've got a box that has a couple T-shirts. It's got some things. I will give everybody a little notebook. And let's be honest, I've got 4, 10, 16 people here. If I gave you one petition and I said, get it filled out, say, oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that. If I gave you 3 petitions and say, do you have a couple friends? Everybody here has at least 2 friends, except you. I'm really worried about you. No, if you give a petition to a friend, but take this out when you give a petition. This is something I learned when I was a retailer. Right in front of them, you write their name and a phone number. What the hell's that you doing? What are you doing for work? I'm going to call you in about 2 weeks to see if you got that for back. And then you call them. We need the signatures, and we can do it. We're putting a calendar together, and I've had to get a volunteer to do it because I've got this lady doing nothing. But in every county, she's looking for where's the county fairs, where are the gun shows, where are the organizations having meetings, when do the ambulance meet, so that we can have a place where you can go online and you can go to azpatriotparty.org now and sign up.
How many other counties are you trying this in?
I'm sorry.
How many other counties are you doing this in?
I'm doing this in 13 counties, and the reason I'm only doing it in 13 is I already got enough signatures in 2 of the counties.
Okay.
So in 13 counties that I'm reaching out to, I'm getting people. And as I said, I'm here tonight. Next Thursday, I'm in Cochise County. The following week, I'm in Mojave County. And in between that, I'm sorry, in Coconino County. And then in between that, I'm going to be in Gila County. And I'm going and I'm getting people to step up. I have already reached out and got a couple people that have said that they would agree to come to a meeting in both Navajo and Apache County, but I don't have a date set, so I'm not going to commit on anything like that. That it's done until it's done, and then I'm there. It's that we can do this because we got 4 months, and especially in some of the La Paz County, I only need I think 116. Greeley, I need 87, which says to me, I'll go to Greeley County in a month or two when they're having a county fair or something down there. I'll spend the night in a motel. I can get 82 signatures in 2-3 days, and get it over with.
Okay, so one of the issues that more than likely any of us are going to run up against is if we run into a Republican
Yes.
and we say we want your signature for a new party, and they say, well, why should we want a new party? What should be my answer?
Your answer should be, well, let me explain something to you. You're going to get two things. You're going to get a Republican on steroids, constitutionally conservative, someone that's going to follow the Constitution, that will caucus. That means even we are not subjected to their rules or regulations. We will work with them in passing conservative constitutional bills. That's number one. Number two, they may also say, well, why should I? First of all we're doing is putting us on the ballot. They don't lose anything by that signature. That just puts us on the ballot. Then they can hear what we have to say.
So quick question. What rules and regulations would be applied here?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
They have to leave the Republican Party to join your party.
I'm sorry?
They have to leave, resign from.
No, absolutely not. Has nothing whatsoever. I've already, as I said, I have in
Thank you for clarifying that.
34,000 signatures, and a lot of them are Republicans. And a lot of people, when you ask, do you like what's happening to America? No. Just give us a chance. Let us be on the ballot.
So the proper way to tell these people is you're still voting the Republican Party.
You're still
No,
voting
we
a
are going to vote for
conservative.
constitutional conservatives. Let me say this, I am not going to be putting, as heading up the Arizona Patriot Party, if you have been a solid Republican, voting a good conservative, constitutionally conservative position, I'm not going to say that we should have a candidate running against you. I would say we shouldn't. But if you have a candidate like David Cook that just killed 4 good bills, or like Rusty Bowers when he was killing bills left and right, like some of the senators that did not go down to the border and are not supportive of it, like they just, one of the reasons I ran was because of education. I'm not formally educated, I told you guys that, but I firmly believe that we should be giving all of the money. We give billions to the teachers, and our kids are flunking. That's like rewarding them. And the bills that I propose, kid has to know the standards. You're killed by Republicans. That those people, those Republicans, are voted against it. And we got things coming at us that are scary. When we talk about ESG, environmental, social, and government, in the banks, and when we're talking about going to a cashless society, and we talk about critical race theory. I was the only one in the legislature that actually went to the Attorney General and filed a lawsuit against a school called Balls, BLZ.
Yep, I know that.
For teaching Project 1690. It says that we are inherently racist. We're not.
And how did you do on that lawsuit?
The Attorney General refused to do a damn thing, told me this, Fillmore, we'll work with you. And then he ran out the clock.
I think a lot of the problem that we're having now in the Republican Party is that the Democrat Party and Democrat backers are trying to recruit people to run as Republicans who do not follow the
They're
party
not
platform.
trying to
They're
do
not-
that. They've
I
been
mean,
doing that for
they're-
30 years.
But they're infiltrating, and we have districts where, like you said, you've
Okay.
got well-funded.
Can I ask you a
government
question? When that happens, if
Yeah.
you're a precinct committeeman or you're active in your district, don't you vet your candidates? Don't you listen to what they're
We do
saying?
up here. We better candidates up here.
Really? I will tell you, I've had people up here, and I want you to understand, Leo Biasucci is a good friend of mine. Okay, I make no qualms about it. I don't like some of his politics, and he's part of the leadership.
Didn't he vote to get Liz Harris out? He was one of
Yeah,
the
he knew that he handed her her phone.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
See, and this is what's wrong. Is it when they
We have
I
Republicans
have-
that go along to get along.
Leo has the county on the
that
verge
is-
of litigation right now because he bought a lot of property in Topok that was not zoned for what he wanted
Don't
to do
wanna
with
get
it. And
sidetracked
that whole-
on
all
that.
that
I
whole
can
mess
appreciate
too.
that.
So,
Anyway.
you know, but vetting candidates is important. And
I need someone up
as
here. that
somebody who's
can
been
say
a
they'll take
candidate, I can
position.
tell you, we don't.
Thank you. I need
We do
someone to take a position of leadership and help us. Sign on the sheet, say that you will help me, and then give people the work. I will give you any kind of backup that I can. I'll be glad to come back. And people, we have 4 months to do this. 800 signatures is a loss. Let me tell you something. I was waiting until we did more signatures to be on the ballot. And if they can do it, we can do it. And we're trying to save our country and to protect us from some of the lunacy that's happening in the Democratic Party and the out and outright ignoring of our laws. When people at the federal level can violate laws, when the FBI blatantly, look what they did to President Trump for 4 years. They lied. They lied about everything. Now it's out, and I posted almost immediately, I'll wager $10 to 100 ain't a damn thing that's going to happen. And I don't think it is.
We're
And
gonna
we
get
need
a
to
civil
do
war, if that's the case.
I think that what keeps the Republican Party in line is knowing that they could be primary for, you know, that they could be challenged from the right rather than from the left. If you're only going to be challenged from the left, you can sit comfortably somewhere in the middle and be squishy. But if you're going to have somebody at a debate who is going to hold you to task from the right of where you've been, it pushes you and it pushes the other people in the party to the right rather than towards the middle. And if the Republican Party wasn't afraid of third parties, then they wouldn't have voted to raise the signature requirement for the Libertarian Party and the other. There's obviously
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but let me say this to that. That is true. They did change those signatures. But you know what we've got? We've got momentum. I already have the signatures. We're now on the home stretch. If we can get that, all of a sudden, we could have candidates for county supervisor, for sheriff, and more importantly, for election integrity right after 2024 to ensure that the elections are no longer stolen.
Question. Term limits down in the state. Is that by,
That is regulated by the state.
okay, but what I want to ask is it by person? Are you term limited because you're a person, or are you term limited because of your party?
No, you can't term limit for the party. God, I wish we could. We'd have term limited the Republicans.
No.
25
What
years
I
ago.
mean is, I run as a Republican, and I do my 8 years down in state, and then I flip to the Patriot Party. I flip to the Patriot Party. Can I run for another 8 years?
Pass that around if you want to.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
a good question. If you're term limited out as a Republican serving your 8 years in the legislature, can you then run under the Patriot Party and do you get another 8 years?
I do not believe you can. I believe that you are term limited. I cannot answer that. As a person, I would think that you are term limited. I will say this, do you know that in Arizona, in our constitution, we have term limits for federal officers? But the federal government has then overridden that and saying that we don't. I believe that's something that we as a state should challenge. if we had a governor that had the testicle fortitude to stand up to the federal government and say, you know what? We are the United States. We have states' rights. Listen, people, azpatriotparty.org, go there and read our platform. Our platform says we have the right to.
You want to repeat that website one more time?
azpatriotparty.org. We have the right to refuse federal money, and our party position is that the federal Department of Education should be canceled. It's a state's issue. They should not be in our education. We should not have to follow some of the ludicrous dictates that they give us.
But what they do is they take our money, send it back to Washington, siphon off 30% of it, and send it back to us
With rules. And we don't need to do that. We can stand up to that. The state of Arizona does. It's like I was pointing out on our border. We have the right to secure our border. And I told Governor Ducey that. I said, Governor, you've got political coverage if that's what you're worried about, because the Attorney General has said we are in an invasion. You got political coverage. Stand up and do that. I would wager, had Arizona done that, we would have only had to confiscate one airplane and across New Mexico and Texas and everywhere else. Every NGO would say, I'm not sending my planes out, they're confiscated. And I'm same thing when they put them up at a Ramada hotel. We'd only had to do that one time. And they'd say, no, no more, we're not. Look what they're doing now. And I don't want to say I'm glad it's up in blue states, but in New York, they put up so many people in the motels. Now they're putting them in schools and gyms and things of that nature. We, as the state of Arizona and as Americans, have got to stand up. And I honestly believe if we don't carry the ball across the finish line in 2024 on the Republican side of the issue,
This is it.
our party cannot have a presidential contender. But if we don't have a win in 2024, our country is going to go down. Look at how blatant the lies are. Look at how blatant they stand up to us and they cheat. Look at how blatant they acknowledge and ignore, and how the Main Street media uses to their advantage and hides behind the First Amendment of the United States when they are not media in the sense that they are telling you what is happening. They are the spokespeople for the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party has not been right for about 20 years. And on that note, I want to point something out. John Kennedy would be a Republican by today's standards.
Yes, he would be.
He lower taxes, solid military. And it's not because after he passed, he became conservative. It's because the weak backbone Republicans have moved that far to the left. I thank you all for being here. I hope that you'll sign a sheet. I'll hope that some of you will agree to be helping me. I hope that you'll go to azpatriotparty.org and you'll read our platform and you'll tell people about it and you'll help me get the signatures.
So which county are you headed to from here?
From here, I'm actually going to go spend the night tonight up here. I'm going to go down to La Paz and see if I can get some signatures tomorrow before I go home.
I'll give you a phone number.
And then I'm going to, I'm sorry.
I'll give you a phone number of someone to talk to in La Paz. He's pretty black-pilled right now, but maybe he'll help.
Black-pilled, I can't.
I know, it's hard.
That might not be a good thing, but I appreciate
It's hard not to get
I appreciate,
frustrated,
yeah,
you know what I mean? There's a lot of frustration.
Give me a signature on the petition, if nothing else.
Absolutely, I will sign it.
Absolutely.
Sign it.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you why I'll sign it. I'll tell you why I'll sign it. Because when a party has ballot access and they put up a candidate, that candidate is then eligible to attend debates. So if you are in Maricopa County and you're running under the Patriot Party for county supervisor, then you have the opportunity to engage in the
You
dialogue.
know why I would sign that in a heartbeat? Because I love this country. And I do not like what is happening in America. Do you know why I would sign that in a heartbeat? Is because our country is being stolen. We are going to be taxed. People are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. There's two sets of rules now in this country. Those for the rich and powerful. And there's usually a D after the name. And then there's for the rest of us. And that's not the way America is supposed to be on that.
Why should you want somebody to higher standards than what they
You want to say that a little louder?
Remember, when you're on a jury, why should you hold somebody who's not politically connected to a higher level of justice than somebody that's rich? You know, if you're on a jury and they haven't done any harm and the government's after them, let them go.
It's an urgent matter for the safety of Arizona. We need your help. And those of you that have served in the armed services, and you remember, and I spoke about that when they killed my bill 2289. And I said that I had a kid I went to high school with, Joey Pignato, that died in Vietnam. I says, what about those kids that believe in America and believe in our system that died over there now? Are we just to forsake them? No. We need to do something, people, and I need your help. And until someone else can come up and smack me upside the head and give me a different plan, this is what I believe is the best plan, and I'm willing to do everything I can. So, that said, I hope you will join me. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you get this done. Because even if you're
Don't want to be involved.
You mind sharing that story?
I'm gonna do
You want me to share with us when we're eating? About him getting arrested.
Yeah, I can share.
Yeah. So,
Well, which one? I got 2 times I got
Yeah.
arrested.
the one for no trespass.
Yeah, but both times I got arrested at the county building was
Well,
trespassing.
well, share them both by all means.
John McCain came to our county, buddy of mine.
You want to introduce yourself real quick?
My name is Mervyn Pitchfork Freedom, and buddy of mine went to a John McCain town hall, which was a campaign speech. Our county, well, Arizona has a law that says that the county can't use county resources to influence the outcome of the election, but our county allowed John McCain to use our county building to do his town hall. So a buddy of mine went there to hand out flyers showing that John McCain would say one thing but vote a different way. And the sheriff and one of the county supervisors came up to my friend and said, "You can't hand out these flyers." And my friend said, "Show me the law." And they said, "Well, there's the law. Trust us. You can't do it." So my buddy's like, "Well, show me the law." And they said, "Well, just get with us later. We'll show you the law." So my buddy didn't hand out any more flyers. Didn't want to get in trouble. Didn't want to get arrested. Well, then he tries to contact the sheriff and the county supervisor. Nobody will return his phone calls. Nobody will return his emails. Nobody will help him get him back with him on this law, right? That's because there is no law. They lied to him. So he calls me up and he says, "Hey, I'm going to go to the next board of supervisors meeting. You want to go?" I'm going to talk to him about this law they said there was. And I said, "Well, yeah, I've seen it on TV a couple times. I'll go check it out." And we go, and I read the agenda, and there's no call to the public at that time. So I said, "Well, maybe we can read through here and find a way for you to segue into what you want to talk about." So I read the agenda. There really wasn't any way for him to segue, but what I noticed was our county was making these big property tax settlements with people who had complained about the rate of their evaluations on the property. Properties that were valued at like $165,000, and they complained to the county, and the county came back and said the property was worth $16,500. So a 90% reduction in the property tax for them because they complained. Now, the guy next door that has the same piece of property, he doesn't get that discount because he didn't complain, or the guy behind him or the one down the street. It's not fair. Well, they had like 13 of them on the agenda. So I signed up to speak on those. So me and my buddy are sitting in the front row. Now, of course, I'm sitting next to the guy that they don't like, right? So my buddy gets up to the podium. He's wearing a suit. He's got a sidearm on. You can wear a sidearm in there. Never threaten anybody. He says, "Hey, I've been trying to contact you guys. You won't return my phone calls." And they said, "You're out of order." He said, "I'm trying to contact you guys. You guys won't return my phone calls. You're out of order. Sit down." So he sat down. Didn't threaten him or anything. Of course, when he got up there to speak, the camera goes to a wide angle of the room. Usually when you're speaking at the podium, you're seen when you talk, then they're seeing when they reply to you.
Right.
Well, because they didn't like him, the camera went to a wide angle of the room. Then they got down to my items that I signed up for. Well, I had written up a speech, and I said that these property taxes are unfair, that if the county's so far out of line on these valuations that everybody should get reevaluated, that it's not fair for one guy to get it and somebody else not to get that reduction.
Yeah, correct.
And an environment of lower taxation is representative of good government, which allows liberty and freedom to flourish. Everybody in the room applauded. They couldn't call me out of order because I was talking on their topic. So all the supervisors looked at each other. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Then they went to the next one. Well, I signed up for like 13 of them.
Love it.
So about 5 in, they called the county assessor up, Ron Nicholson, a friend of mine. Says, hey, these are some big valuation changes. He says, well, yeah, the property values got way up. This was back in 2008. Property values went way up and they've come way down, but he's right. It's not fair how we're doing this. The county supervisor said, well, if you have a problem with it, you have to contact the state. Well, no, the county's the one that does the changes in your property taxes. So they lied to the people. So I got to speak on the rest of them. At the next county supervisors meeting, he had said the property was out in the middle of nowhere, right? So I thought, okay. So I downloaded the agenda, tracked the numbers of the properties. I saw that it was apartment complexes, boat storage yards, houses, duplex, whatever, you know. So I'm all ready to speak. I sign up for another 13 or 14 of them, whatever, at the next meeting. When they get down to that agenda item, they say, oh, we see that you signed up for 13 items. We're going to combine all those items into one 3-minute opportunity to speak. So the reason why they did that is they didn't want to hear from me. And number two, they didn't want people to know how bad they're getting screwed by the county on the property taxes.
So they're basically trying to silence you.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So in the meantime, the county supervisor wrote a real nasty letter about my friend who said that he's from Italy. He said, this Italian immigrant doesn't understand our laws. He needs to understand that we have rules that you have to go by in our country, that him and his wife are like Hanoi Jane and Timothy McVeigh. And you try to stand up in front of Congress with a gun on your hip and see what happens to you. This was printed in our local newspaper,
Wow.
in the Kingman Daily Miner.
What? Can you tell me what year that was?
This was, I think, in 2008.
Wow.
So they wrote this real nasty letter about my buddy. So my buddy calls me up. Hey, we're going to go to the next meeting. He doesn't like guns. Everybody's going to bring their guns. I said, well, I don't want to bring a gun. I said, well, how about a pitchfork? So I brought a pitchfork. My buddy says, hey, put it on a sling so you're not brandishing it so that they can possibly arrest you. This is the evidence tag from when it was confiscated. So he says, put it on a sling so you're not brandishing it. Okay. So we go there. There were 50 people outside the county building that day. I had some business to take care of inside the building. The county supervisor was there, or excuse me, the county manager, Ron Walker, who was a crooked man. He was outside of the building, and then there was sheriff deputies blocking the building. And this guy that had a flag tried to walk into the building, and they stopped him, turned him away. And he came back. He said, they won't let me in the building with a flag. I said, okay, I guess it's my turn. So I walked over. County manager stopped me, said, sir, you're welcome to come in, but you can't bring that because it's disruptive. I said, there's no law against it. Well, if you do it, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, you do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do. I walked past him. I went in the building. There was a sheriff inside there. They motioned to him. The sheriff stopped me. He says, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You can't bring that in. I said, there's no law against it. He says, well, I'm going to place you under arrest. I said, you do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do. So I got arrested. They put a $10,000 bail. So I had to come up with $1,000 cash. So all the people that were there pitched in, got me out of jail. Then it was in the papers. It was all over. It was in the media. I had a girl that contacted me from New Jersey that moved here to Arizona. And she says, are you the guy that got arrested with the pitchfork? And I go, yeah, that was me. She says, that was front page news in New Jersey.
Really? Wow.
And this was the time when John McCain was saying everybody needs to bring pitchforks and firebrands to meetings and stuff. Anyway, so the county manager called my work. At the time I worked at UPS, called my supervisor, asked my supervisor personal questions about me. My supervisor, when I came into work that day, said, hey, I want to tell you what happened. He compared you to Timothy McVeigh. He was asking if you could sneak packages into the package system and send them to the county building. And my boss knew that the guy was trying to get me fired from my job.
Right.
The county manager broke the law doing that. He has no investigative authority to do that. He broke the law.
Absolutely.
So luckily we got a judge out of Phoenix. They wanted to keep it in-house and have the brother of the prosecutor be the judge of the, yeah, that's how small the town is. They wanted the brother of the prosecutor to be the judge on the case. So we got a judge from Phoenix that came up who trained Supreme Court judges. He heard the case, a simple trespassing case like that, half an hour, 45 minutes. The trial lasted 6 hours. County manager got up on the stand, looked like a total jerk. Changing the subject, my attorney would just tell him, would you just answer the question? Many times. And so then we had to wait for the judgment. The judgment came out that the county manager acted without bringing First Amendment issues to bear, which obviously a pitchfork is freedom of speech.
Right.
I make a statement with this, that the county manager acted arbitrarily, capriciously, and unreasonably towards me when he threw me in jail, and they found me to be innocent. So now we're at so, you know, with the property taxes, I found out that the property taxes, they were going to raise our property tax rate. So not only are they sticking it to us on the valuations, but then they want to raise the property tax rate. So the newspaper reported it's a 2% increase in the county budget, but it was a 24% increase in the base property tax rate. So I got a t-shirt made up. I went to the meeting where they were going to vote for it. I went in, I walked through the room, walked down the front, looked around for my friends, went and sat down. One of the people that ran the county meeting there came over to me and said, sir, some people are uncomfortable with your t-shirt. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And I said, well, this is a public meeting and I'm going to be here. He says, well, if you're here when we call the meeting to order, we're going to have you arrested. And I said, well, I'll be sitting right here for you. So they called the meeting to order and the cops came over and they said, you're arrested. They took me to jail. And so now I have a criminal record because they used a local judge and they were able to convict me of criminal trespass.
And you want to tell these guys what was printed on the shirt?
The t-shirt said, fuck the tax.
Fuck the tax.
Fuck the tax.
So fuck the tax and they throw you in jail.
And they threw me in jail and I have a criminal record for a t-shirt that says, fuck the tax.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I guess my fuck Joe Biden shirt right here,
Right.
they'd probably throw me in prison.
Right. So yeah, they violated my rights. They convicted me, but we obviously know that it's a First Amendment issue. And but your rights are only as good as you fight for them. And they want to take more and more of them away now. I just saw where there's a guy, I believe in Australia, that's facing jail time for misgendering somebody.
Wow.
So they want to take all these rights away from us. And they want to shut us up. That's why Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, all these social media companies blocked all the information that was coming out on Hunter Biden's laptop, all the stuff that was coming out on COVID. They blocked all that stuff because they didn't want the truth to come out because they're afraid of the truth. So speak the truth whenever you can.
Exactly. Hey, I appreciate you taking time for this interview.
You bet.
And
My pleasure.
you guys, I'm going to be ending this live broadcast. This is Jonathan Alexander, APA News.
So right, if the yearly
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
didn't get counted, then staff.
You got my card?
No, I didn't.
So we're, here, let me, thought that ended. And there.
They can't raise the rate without.
I live here in Kingman, but I own that
Yeah,
company.
all right.
I've got one here in Kingman and right now, see.
I got an extra card on me, I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, which one's in stream? Right there. So why are you not ending? Yep, you're gonna end it just like this. Power off.